Bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains Podcast.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
Good. That was good. Yeah, I think we could just have we could do like a show. We could do a song cracking over open beer cans and cider cans. Right?
Good.
Different size cans. Some we would shake up a little bit. Some cans would be warmer or colder depending on the note we wanted. But I think we could get this down to a science, and we could have one of these cheesy songs that gets a billion plays.
Like the Stewart song?
Yes, I think would be better than the Stewart song. But we wouldn't sing. We wouldn't sing. That would probably turn people off.
Well, that, and I think, we could actually have like kind of just a show and people can guess on what we're cracking open. If it's a cider, if it's a beer, if it's a pale ale, if it's an IPA, like there's so many choices.
All right, Stosh, you're starting to get ridiculous on me. And that's my job. My job is to be the ridiculous and rambunctious one.
And then I try to keep it cool. I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah. All right. So episode 194 tonight, Julie McGuire, the Queen of the Catskills, and Jamie Kennard is joining us to talk about their film, Queen of the Catskills. Julie skied all 35 peaks, and they did a film about it, which is an amazing film. And I suggest anybody and everybody go see it live in person. And we're going to have the dates. We're going to keep posting about it stuff tonight. But tonight, they're going to be joining us to talk about that amazing job that they did with the film and their experiences with it, and just a bunch of deep emotions that flow with that awesome film. So glad to have them tonight. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, Tad, is that I recently reorganized my room. It was a freaking complete and utter mess. Put a new shelf in, put a bunch of new shelves in, and got my hiking stuff all organized. Take a guess of how many pairs of micro spikes I got, fully functional. Well, like they were good.
All right. So what you're saying, pairs, is in grouping of twos.
Yeah. So functional. Yeah.
And are these matching pairs, or does a mismatched pair? See, now he's making a face. He hasn't thought about this. Is a mismatched grouping of spikes constitute as a pair?
Yes.
You couldn't do that with shoes. You couldn't do that with shoes. If you had a black pair, a black penny loafer and a brown penny loafer, I don't think that would constitute a pair of penny loafers. But when it comes to micro spikes, does it matter?
Yeah, Catulas with Catulas, hill sounds with hill sounds. So they're matching.
No mismatched pairings. Okay.
Correct.
I'm going to say micro spikes, not trail crampons, are bigger, just micro spikes.
Let's say both.
Oh, okay. So now I know that the number of micro spikes is a relatively low number. Trail crampons and micro spikes, six pairs altogether.
Ding, 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 ding. Well done.
All right. See,
six total of working stuff. And then I found 3 more that were broken. So.
And I would have guessed that too had you asked me, because the 3 would not constitute a pair. That would be an odd grouping.
Correct. And yes, I was just like, oh shit. That was basically my reaction every time. I was like, oh, here's another working pair. I'm like, oh, here's another working pair. And then I'm just like, where the hell does this all come from? I'm just like, oh, it's not bad. So I threw 2 of them in the backpack. So there's 2 right now in the backpack. So
you think you'll need them? You'll think you'll need them?
I don't know. I don't care. And if I need them, I'll have them. If I don't need them, somebody else might need them.
Yeah, well, I guess the better question is, when will you need them? Because whether you need them or not this weekend, the weekend after that, eventually it will be winter and you will need micro spikes or better. So,
correct.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, is just I throw them when I hear of the first frost over. I throw at least 1 pair in there just in case.
Mhm.
You know, I don't want to be that guy that's going off trail and creating, I mean, this stupid herd path that goes around 3 feet, just not even 3 feet, a foot to get around the ice and just looks stupid.
Okay, so let's not talk about trail crampons. Let's not talk about micro spikes. Let's talk about tracks. TRAX. Are you familiar with those?
Yak tracks.
Yes, yak tracks. That's what it is.
They're my favorite.
Are they? Would you be seen carrying a pair of those on your pack?
Dude, I never even I didn't even knew they exist before I went hiking. Like those just look like the stupidest, like they're basically just guitar strings wrapped around rubber, putting on the bottom of your feet. And I'm just like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. How is this going to save you? Like,
well, it's so if you're going at the local like town park where there's really no vertical gain, there's nothing steep, and you're hiking on relatively flat stuff, maybe they would actually be better than micro spikes if there's just like that thin layer of frozen water. I don't even want to call it ice because it's so thin.
Yeah.
And then maybe something like that would work if you're doing something like that. But the minute you're going to be doing some, vertical ascent, some steeper pitches, those things just aren't going to work for you.
Not at all. Nowhere. And I see them all thrown over all the time. And I'm just, my friend showed me them one time and I'm just like, really? Like, he's like, yeah, I use them for shoveling and stuff like that. I'm just like, just get yourself a pair of like Catula spikes. And he did. And he's just like, wow, I've been hunting for like 20 years and I've never known about these things. And these things are fantastic. I'm just like, well.
Yeah. So the message is, friends, don't let friends hike in yak tracks.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. I'm writing that down. So, I mean, speaking of that, we had this, this is going all around the news, all around social media and stuff like that. 20 people helped off of the COG Mountain Railway on Mount Washington this previous weekend. So that once again goes into play into what we said last week with the winter season approaches, preparing yourself and stuff like that. It's unclear of what it seems like they didn't have the layers and stuff like that to be prepared with Mount Washington. I mean, I would have to say 50% of the people that go up there aren't prepared for that weather, especially past September 1st. And, we saw it this weekend. Luckily, the COG helped them off. The people of the COG, there was other people up there that were like, hey, you are not suitable for this weather. Take the COG railway down and then get a taxi and stuff like that. And we saw that this weekend up on Mount Washington. And I hope we don't start seeing that around the Catskills. Who knows? Let's, once again, prepare yourself. This is the start of it. We are hitting colder weather. Where I live today, it only hit up into the low 50s. So in the mountains, it's going to be with wind in the low 30s, probably hitting the high 20s, which means ice is forming. So, Tad, what do you got to say about that? 20 people.
Yeah. I know the last group of people that got rescued up in the White Mountains, I think it was that one fellow. He is being, I'm not going to say asked, he's being told he has to pay for that rescue.
Oh, well, that was a whole different party. That was the Lafayette. This is just 20 people going up Mount Washington.
Yeah. So
that
maybe
other guy, yes.
Yeah. Maybe there's no cost associated with the Mount Washington clan because they were able to take the clog railway down. But, one of the things that people just need to understand, and I think our regular listeners understand this, and that is, when you show up at the trailhead to go mountain hiking in what sometimes is referred to as the shoulder season, and definitely during the winter season in spring, don't expect the weather conditions 1,000 or 2,000 vertical feet up to be the same as where you're parking your car. I remember one time I took a friend hiking. We were going to go up Peekamoose from Peekamoose Road, and he was gravely disappointed when we pulled into the parking lot and there was no snow, and he had brought his snowshoes. And I said, don't worry, buddy. Don't worry. About 45 minutes, an hour from now, you'll be throwing those on. And it was. I mean, Peekamoose Mountain can have some really good winter conditions up there at the top because of that deep notch that it sticks into. And sure enough, we got up there and there was just deep snow, windy. There was, that hard snow was pelting us in the face. It was like we walked into a different world. It was epic. He had a good time. Glad he brought his snowshoes.
Elevation makes a whole bunch of difference. And, people out here sometimes, most of our listeners are aware of that, but, we try to once again get people into kind of like the situational awareness of what happens when you start gaining feet, you start losing temperature, degrees, stuff like that. And as terrain change, so does the weather. And we are just, engaging once again in that time of where, layers matter. And, you might not think it might be like 55 degrees at the base of the mountain, but up top, that wind is blowing and you are cold, you are chilled. You can only spend so much time up there. And, it changes. It changes very rapidly.
Yeah. And if this is going to be your first winter hiking in the Catskills or other mountain terrain, start out smaller. Don't go into the highest elevations at the beginning. Learn on some smaller mountains how layering is going to work from you, how much heat you generate going uphill versus when you start your descent, and how you cool off and either have trouble staying warm or stay warm going downhill when you're not working as hard. But that's something that's really important to do. And I think the best advice that any new winter hiker in mountainous terrain can learn, and all of us who have done it for seasons know, don't leave the parking area dressed like you're going to be cold in 5 or 10 minutes, because chances are once you start that ascent, you're going to warm up fast and you'll have to start delayering. But the problem is, if you start perspiring, you're going to have to deal with that moisture giving you a chill that you might be fighting for quite a while. So I think it was actually Sean who said when he was on the first time, be bold, start out cold.
Yep. Be bold, start cold. That's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tell people, dress like you're already 15, 20 minutes into the hike. Don't have your warmest stuff on when you leave the parking lot, because again, chances are, if you're at some place where it's typical in the Catskills and you start climbing uphill pretty quickly, you're going to warm up pretty quickly, and don't be in your puffy layers when you leave the parking lot. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. And I pack as much as I can just in case, you never know. And, once again, it's a very difficult process that you have to learn over time of layering, delayering. You have to learn how much you sweat, how much you don't sweat, where you can layer up, where you can warm up. It's a very rough process, but once you get into that groove, you start to fucking love winter.
Yeah.
And that is where, once again, in the winter, I was like hesitant, to be honest, I started out in khakis. Oh, froze over. I found out, I know, total shame. But I love it. I was just like, I was okay with it. I learned the way I was, sweating. I could delayer, I could layer up at this place. And now winter is freaking phenomenal. I love hiking in the winter. It's so beautiful. It's so much fun. It's just, once you learn yourself, it takes a lot of time. So do not, feel bad of when you're not enjoying the winter, because you'll get a groove of it and it'll kick into gear, and you'll fall in love with it. There'll be times where you're just like, wow, this is fantastic. So once again, layer, delayer, micro spikes, get them in the pack. It's not that much. So Tad, you're going to take this next thing, because I am not going to try to pronounce this next subject, because
Verdieter Kill Falls.
Verdieter Kill Falls. It's a vertical fall. So I thought it was like vertical.
You got to speak like you're Dutch when you say this. Verdieter Kill. Yeah.
Okay. So now I I got it. All right, hold on. So Vertigo Falls trail runners help to preserve Vertigo Falls. So up down in we have in the Shawangunk area, there's Vertigo Falls Open Space Institute and a trail running program called Run Wild have helped to preserve this area called Vertigo Falls, right? He's
Yes.
sipping. Okay.
Yeah, I was on IPA relief there. So
Open Space Institute, we had a chat with them on a previous episode, and Run Wild has preserved this area of a 190-foot waterfall on the east side of the Shawangunk Ridgeline known as Vertigo Falls, Vertigo Falls. It can only be accessed by a 3-mile trail that begins near Sand Point Preserve, which we all know is a crazy place. So what's crazy is that Run Wild raised money of $200,000, a non-for-profit trail running organization, to preserve this area. Now, the Ridge Rail Trail Run that we know as the Shawangunk Ridge Trail Run is a 95 30-mile course option, both which take runners across the top of the falls. Now, the Run Wild board chairman, Kenneth Posner, who we have on next week, said he was first learned that the private landowners controlled the falls, and he reached out to Open Space Institute to see if there was a plan for protection. Definitely hear that there was a plan, and that Open Space Institute and Run Wild decided to coordinate together and to kind of preserve this area. So once again, there definitely is a tremendous, great amount of opportunity that happened here, and that we all worked together to join in and got this land area preserved, especially where it is, because once again the landowners were not really opposed to having this and to happen, but Ken Posner, Run Wild, and Open Space Institute joined together and helped preserve this area. And it's a great addition. Run Wild was formed in 2020. Their first contribution was $2,500 from a half marathon, split between Sterling Forest and the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. Since then, their total contributions to the land conservation efforts has been $374,000. And
wow.
That is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll be talking about that with Ken. So Ken, if you're listening, we're going to be talking about Run Wild next episode. Amazing job by Run Wild and Ken and the Open Space Institute on preserving this area. Now, of course, I haven't been to this area, but Tad, have you been here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And what do you think?
I've been there in more ways than one. It's a must-see attraction. The hiking from Sam's Point is, in a lot of respects, a typical Shawangunk hike. In other respects, it's a somewhat unique Shawangunk hike. But if you're only going to do one hike in the Shawangunks and you don't want to go to what has historically been the popular spots, and this is not one of them, go to this hike, man. Particularly on a very, very epically cold winter day, bring more than micro spikes. And I'm assuming that they're going to now make publicly accessible a hike down to the bottom of the falls, which is nice. Oh yeah. I mean, it's incredible because this waterfall is in a little notch, and the mist off the fall just generates ice in that entire notch that it's in. And it's so epically beautiful. My one daughter and I went up and hiked it on a Christmas day, maybe 3-4 years ago. It was just a wonderful experience.
I remember you chatting about that. That was one of the first hikes you did, right? With her?
No, we kind of unofficially redlined everything in the Gunks itself and the surrounding areas. And we did most of that before we started hiking in the Catskills. We started hiking in the Catskills in 2016. And I'm going to say her and I did the Vertigo Falls 2023, maybe nice. It was 2023. Her and I did it. And I gave her a hat that she wears on the Instagram story I made of her little hike that day.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So once again, thank you, Open Space Institute and Run Wild. We'll be talking about this in the next episode with Ken. And thank you, Aaron Quinn, from the Times Union, for writing this little write up about the preserve. I'll have that in the show notes as well. Aaron actually interviewed me and Joe Ferry on our plane crashes interview. So she's done a lot of stuff for the Catskills. So thank you, Aaron. We'll appreciate it. I wanted to mention this because this is local. This Woodstock Brewing partners with Paradox Brewing to reach new markets in the Catskills and to the area. So the Phoenicia Tap Room continues regular operations, so they're going to be open. Oh, did you do this on purpose, or was this not planned?
This was on purpose.
On purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a second. Woodstock Brewing and Paradox continue together. The Paradox Brewing is the Adirondacks-based craft cider beer maker. They acquired the rights to Woodstock Brewing to charter this Catskills area. They plan to do stuff more around the Catskills and to more make the Woodstock Brewing area public. So it doesn't mean much for us in the Catskills. Woodstock Brewing will still be there for us up in Phoenicia. And they will continue to operate only to that their Endless Cycles IPA, their Baby's Dragons Pale Ale, and their Raspberry Goose expanded for wholesale retail markets. And the acquisition means that they're going to be growing more and more, and it allows them to bring together the both of both breweries. So once again, we'll see what happens here. I love Woodstock Brewing. I've been there a couple times. Their burgers are excellent. Their brew. You know, as Tad, what can you say about their brew? I'm not a brew kind of
Woodstock Brewing?
Yeah.
I've never had a Woodstock beer, but tonight, for the first time, I'm having a Paradox IPA, which I suppose we'll talk about later.
Yes, we will. So, awesome. Congratulations, Woodstock Brewing. Let's hope we can get together and talk about this in the future. Congratulations. So cool. Also, the one thing I read this before, like a week back, and I was just like, this is a little messed up. Not really, but so I got a recent report from the Adirondack Explorer saying hikers are unwittingly bringing microplastics into the upper wilderness of the Adirondacks. So water samples from the two of the most remote places in the Adirondacks, so Lake Tier of the Clouds up near Mount Marcy, and then also Moss Pond, which is off trail as well. They are saying that their microplastics are reaching these areas and are polluting these areas. So both of these areas are above 4,200 feet, and they have been tested by the nonprofit organization called Adirondack Hamlets to Huts. And they have said the concentration of microplastics to be 16.54 particles per millimeter in the Lake of the Tier Clouds, an increase of the 9.54 figure recorded 2 years prior by their groups. And then they did a study in the Moss Pond that just 0.73 particles per millimeter has resulted in the two ponds. And now this is drawing some whole crazy controversy that it just slaps. Of course, every local, I wouldn't say local, but big organization saying, oh my God, pollution is happening even up in the highest spot of the Adirondacks. You know, pollution is happening in the Adirondacks, and then it's pouring in because Lake Tier Clouds is the actually natural, like starting place of the Hudson River. So they're saying pollution is happening. It's starting all the way from the Adirondacks, and I'm just like, have you ever visited beyond Albany in the Hudson River? That's polluted with like dead bodies. So this is doing nothing. And then there's cars floating along and stuff like that. So this is like doing nothing. So it's they say it's just microplastic from footwear, clothing, and hiking gear could be making its way in the water. So people traveling through the area, getting, perspiration, getting rain, snow, and stuff like that, they say it's contributing to the waters of the Lake Tier of the Clouds, which has started the Hudson River, and Moss Pond, which eventually flows into the Hudson River area, the Hudson River watershed. They definitely need more research. Microplastic pollution can come from anywhere. It can float in the air. It can come from, a local town, stuff like that. And, I saw this and I'm just like, I don't know if I'm being crazy, but I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, it's a little bit far-fetched, don't you think?
Nope. I'm going to disagree.
Come on.
No, I think the hypothesis is that of the two bodies of water that were tested, Lake Tier of the Clouds and I forget what the other one was.
Moss Pond.
That Moss Pond is further away from hiker traffic and other recreational traffic associated with human activity, whereas the Lake Tier in the Clouds is in an area of high concentration of recreational traffic. And so Moss Pond had about 1/2 the level of microplastic content that Lake Tier in the Clouds had. And they associate the lower level of microplastic content in Lake or Moss Lake as being associated with what can accumulate from rainfall. And they say then the only explanation for the higher concentration in Lake Tier in the Clouds is that rainwater, as it's surface flowing or somehow flowing and migrating into Lake Tier in the Clouds, is picking up microplastics that are coming off of boots, hiking gear, technical wear, things of that nature. And that's what they use to explain the 100% disparity in the two levels that they tested. They're going to redo the testing to make sure that it's not a testing area, yada, 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 yada. But if you were listening closely the last couple of weeks, I mentioned, and Sean mentioned, and Stosh mentioned using Nick Wax to clean and waterproof our gear. And Nick Wax is supposedly free of these forever chemicals. So you can buy products that won't contribute to the accumulation of forever chemicals and microplastics, and you should pay attention to how your gear's wearing out, because sure, it can be the source of contamination. But then on the other hand, I guess maybe I'd be persuaded to take Stosh's side, because how much stuff would have to come off of your gear to so pollute or contaminate a lake the size of Lake Tier in the Clouds, right?
It's not that big. I'd like Lake Tier
It's
in the
not
Clouds.
that big, but
it's comparable to Echo Lake, I would say. And
okay, but still, how much stuff off of people's shoes, like off of their treads, off their shoes, how much, fraying material coming off a backpack, a jacket, pants, something else has to find its way into this lake to cause this accumulation. I don't know.
True.
It's odd that Moss Pond, which is further out of the way, has half or less than half of the accumulation of microplastics than Lake Tier in the Clouds has, which is, right in the hub of activity up there. So the logical explanation is to blame the hikers for it.
exactly.
And whether or not that's true, it shouldn't excuse you from following best practices to try to avoid or prevent, unnecessarily contaminating areas. It's part of leave no trace.
It is. And then, then how do we Like, it's how do we improve on leave no trace when we are leaving a microplastic trace? Like,
Yeah. Well, maybe you can't. Maybe you reach a point where it's inevitable that, certain levels of traces will be left behind. And that's sad. But does that mean that we should stop hiking in these areas? Does that mean
exactly? Yeah.
That out of, X thousands of people that visit, whether it's Echo Lake or the Adirondacks, that we should now limit the number of people, and that you should basically put on the functional equivalent of a hazmat suit, so you're not contaminating the areas. Yeah, I mean, so there needs to be some rational limits and balancing that occurs, and presumably that's what agencies like the DEC are supposed to do: is study these things, identify hazards, mitigate the impact from those hazards, but still preserve the ability to use these areas without unnecessarily damaging or contaminating them. And, when you look at this under a microscope, so to speak, any hiker traffic through there is leaving some level of trace, from footprints, trenching trails, which changes the groundwater erosion, sedimentation, yada, yada, yada. It just goes on and on and on. But what is tolerable and what is intolerable, I'm not the right person to ask that question.
Yeah, right.
You've got to have some faith in the professionals on the one hand. On the other hand, you got to, have checks and balances in place. So whatever the reaction is, it's not disproportionate to the harm being caused.
Yeah, and it's like what do we do from here on? Do we have only footwear, stuffwear that can last within like 24, 48 hours, and then you have to dispose of it and then repurpose it?
So let's talk about footwear. Basically, if you want a really, really grippy tread, it's going to be made out of a softer, less durable material, right? Because that's generally what makes it grippy, is that it's softer and that it kind of grabs into the rocks and the terrain better than a hard-soled shoe or surface, which is more durable and is going to wear less. So if you want a grippy shoe, you're going to have something that is kind of breaking down as you hike along. I mean, I just replaced those La Sportivas that I hiked in for 5 years. And over the course of 5 years and a lot of miles of Catskill hiking, I still had tread on them, a little bit less than, maybe 50% less than 50%. Maybe they were down to 25% tread or something like that. But that tread was left somewhere out there on the trail. So what do? They make a shoe that never wears down, and then you have people breaking their ankles all the time because they're slipping. Maybe that's the trade-off. Maybe people should break ankles so fish in Lake Tyr, the clouds, don't have microplastics. But we have, as a species, we've pretty much been successful in polluting 80%, if not more, of the world.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether it's in the air, in the water, in the ground, in the ice, So
stop hiking. You're polluting the earth now.
Yeah. Sit at home, drink hard cider or IPAs, and listen to reruns of Inside the Line, what you used to do when you were allowed to have fun.
Yeah, right. Correct. So speaking of allowed to have fun, Ted, you got a little update about this good old Strava Garmin crap that's going on, correct?
Yeah, it could have been the shortest lived lawsuit in the history of Eastern litigation.
So both of these companies are Eastern based?
Well, yeah, I mean, as opposed to Western.
I didn't.
Eastern. Yeah, I would say Eastern.
It's amazing that Strava and Garmin would be more Eastern based than Western, because the Western people get lost a little bit more easier than the Eastern people.
Maybe it's a broader terrain. But whether it's East or West, I guess Garmin is actually European. But the headline was Strava pulls the plug on its lawsuit against Garmin. And then the first paragraph of the story is Strava filed and then voluntarily dropped a lawsuit against Garmin, alleging patent infringement on features like segments and heat maps and claiming Garmin violated a previous cooperation agreement between the two. The lawsuit, which demanded Garmin stop selling some devices, was voluntarily discontinued by Strava just 21 days after it was filed without explanation. Although there's some internal comments that suggest it was a tactic to resolve a separate disagreement over data crediting and API guidelines, which is a reference to Garmin wanting a watermark or logo on data that was uploaded or transferred to Strava from a Garmin device.
Interesting.
And when they discontinued the lawsuit, apparently Strava said a certain level of watermarking by Garmin is okay. So in the end, Stosh, in the final analysis, who made out? Who was the winner in this lawsuit?
Me, because I don't have Strava or Garmin.
Nope, not at all.
I mean, I don't know.
The attorneys that got paid to file the lawsuit.
Jesus, you're right. Nobody won but the attorneys.
Yeah, the attorneys got paid for a lawsuit that went nowhere.
Shit. Oh man.
That's like going into a 5-star restaurant, a Michelin-rated restaurant, and ordering the most expensive shit on the menu, and the chef prepares it for you knowing that you're not even going to eat it. You're just going to pay for it and leave.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's basically what happened here.
Wow. So the one thing that I get from this is that, like, just the amount of, I don't know, like, back and forth that goes on between these organizations is just crazy. But the one thing that I kind of like put together, did this all happen after that the one guy cut the switchback on the Tetons?
I don't think it had anything to do with that stuff.
I think that guy was just like, I use Strava, but Garmin's was recording it. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, if he was a lawyer, then I would believe you. But if he wasn't a lawyer, I don't think it had anything to do with it. I think that Strava was struggling over this watermarking thing, and in some boardroom they were talking about it, and there was a couple attorneys in the boardroom that said, "Let's just sue Garmin."
And then it went from there.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, we're going to sue them. That'll solve everything. And so they started the lawsuit. And 21 days later, after the attorneys got billed, they discontinued the lawsuit. And
shit.
And hikers and trail runners and cyclists and road runners and everybody else that used Strava and Garmin went on happily ever after.
Do you think they even noticed?
No, there was nothing trickled down to be disruptive on the user level, as I understand it at this time. But it was interesting. The big litigation on these things happened between Apple and its iPhone and Samsung and its Android phone years ago. They duked out these battles and forged a lot of this law, and I think this was just some meaningless saber rattling. And what they should do next time when they have a dispute like this, they should call up our law firm that represents the podcast. Do we hike more and how? They're good lawyers. And like the name says, they hike more and how. So there you go.
So if you use Strava or Garmin, you probably haven't noticed anything happening within the past 21 days. So yeah. So except for some attorneys getting more money. So
yeah. So just keep on hiking.
Yeah. Just keep hiking. Just keep having a good time. But prepare yourselves because it's winter. All right. So shooting the shit. That was great. Fantastic. Fun time. Thank you. Appreciate once again to the monthly supporters, Bob McLean, Chris Gerbian, Jeff Jotz, Vicky Ferrer, Mikey S., John Comiskey, Summit Seekers, Desert City Radio, Betsy A., Denise W., Vanessa, Jim C., and Eric. Wow. It's just, once again, fills my heart. Thank you guys very much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. I said this last show and stuff like that. We'll be making a big donation towards the Catskills, I think the Forest Ranger Foundation and the Friends of the Feather 3. They do a lot of the Catskills. Of course, the Forest Rangers do a lot. Appreciate it. So we'll be making a donation soon. If you have any donation suggestions, please reach out to me, and we could do that as well. I'll consider it. So. Once again, big thank you to the sponsors. Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Capture your love story against breathtaking backdrops with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly specializes in adventure couple photography. She'll immortalize your moments amidst the stunning landscapes of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect unique bond in nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, discover the wilderness with Trailbound Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education program offer unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start your journey today with Trailbound Project and unlock the wonders of the great outdoors. So once again, the big question we ask every time, are you really outdoors? If you mention the podcast or one of your hikes through social media, we'll chat about it in the show, and it really counts. Tag us by typing at ITL Catskill MTM podcast on your post through social media, or just send me a message and I will do that as well. So we got a lot of new people, and a lot of seasonal people as well. So Hiker Yogi, aka Kelsey, went up Drybook Ridge working on her grid. So she's going by the Catskill Mountain Club grid, correct?
Yeah, I mean, or she could be doing both of them. That's what I did.
She could be doing both. Oh, wow, Jesus. Yeah. You're like,
when you have a name like that, why not do both?
She could probably stretch from one to the other. So
yeah, have you ever seen any of her posts?
Yes, insane. Stretching amount. She might need to teach me new stuff so I can get my back straightened out and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just insane. So once again, Lisa, Chaotic Exotic, she's going to have to, well, how about a listener spotlight? So Lisa's going to have to join us on the show. Went up North Dome and Cheryl at 4 p.m., and summited, both came back down in the dark, then went up Catskill High Peak on another day and said hello to a bear on the way back down. Then on last Thursday, went and did the escarpment, 23 miles. Said she had a fantastic time, still posting photos of it. Looks phenomenal, like a great day. 23 miles in 10 hours, I believe she said. Great time. And then on Saturday, tagged Bear Pen and Fly with Just Scat. And then on 10/2, which she posted a little bit later, did Colden in the Adirondacks. I can just say this is what we call a beast effort. And
I think
listener spotlight.
Yeah, I think Lisa has definitely developed an addiction to hiking and being outdoors. Yeah, I think if you know her, I think she's got a hiking problem, a serious addiction. And if you see her grabbing her backpack and setting out to do a hike, don't stop her. Just let her do it.
I just keep it going.
Just say yes to hiking.
Correct. So Golden Money Cat Nicholas went up to 6 from Denning and got to catch up on some episode. Thank you for the beautiful pictures. Hope you enjoyed the episodes as well. The Trail Scribe Bill did Balsam and Eagle, knocking off a couple more of the 3,500 list. Congratulations, Bill. Let us know when you're going to be finishing. Yama and Yara went up Wittenberg on a beautiful day. Off in the woods, Sean went up the Ashokan Quarry Trail with his daughter Sloan. Looks like a fantastic time. Once again, it's the Woodstock. Is that the Woodstock Land Conservancy area?
I think that's owned by the DEC now.
Oh yes, I'm thinking of Sloan's quarry.
Yeah,
that the Woodstock owns. Sorry.
Yeah, the other side of the Ashokan.
Yeah, because that's
which
one. That's the one that Sean went up with. And it said it should be renamed Sloan's Quarry. So
yeah,
my bad, Sean. Well, that was funny. So Catskill Mountains Bruise Scott did the Catskill 9, but no post of the Bruise. So That's usually Scott Prost about the bruise after a hike, but I gotta admit the nines is pretty long.
Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a difficult one, so sorry if I get this wrong. So CCMMVV.1 was somewhere. Tad's probably clicking up right now. I'm guessing Balsam from McKinley Hollow. The bridge looks very familiar. So
yeah, I don't remember offhand. I'm not looking it up. I do follow him on Insta. I see from his posts he's out hiking a lot, both in the Hudson Valley and in the Catskills. So kudos to him for getting out.
yeah, definitely. Anybody who got out definitely deserves, once again, to be recognized. Scion 72, Sean went up Red Hill, and then today went up the Huckleberry Ridge Trail. Once again, yeah, he tagged me. Of course, I gotta track back because he sent me like 200 messages because he's like in love with me or something.
Because he got lost. Just say it. He got lost.
Huckleberry Ridge State Forest, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know how to follow the trail markers.
Someone said he was trail running, but I kind of suggested that he was trail slogging. It looked like kind of like he was falling over and stuff like that. So, but Sean once again has great information on the winter hikes and stuff like that. He was on our last episode. So Labradante, Brad did Balsam from McKinley Hollow and also did Panther from Fox Hollow. So both hollows. He did that from there. Awesome. Looks like fun times. Great approaches to both mountains. Definitely Balsam I love from McKinley Hollow because it offers a great elevation gain. It's a definitely tough hike.
Except in late July, August, and early September.
The nettles.
Oh, yeah. The nettles are just fierce in that area. Fierce.
Yeah. Are you talking about the lower area, the elevation, right? Even in the lower elevation.
Yeah, lower McKinley Hollow, man. Once you start, just before you start climbing, after the lean-to, whether it's a half a mile, quarter of a mile past the lean-to, it's almost like they come in with tractors and plant them and fertilize them.
And you would think those new places that are off to the right, that like those A-frame houses would kind of maintain that area, but like, yeah, we'll maintain this area because we have our like city people coming in. No, they don't do anything.
Yeah, I'll say in all candor, the last time or times I've hiked out of McKinley Hollow, I have avoided that trail just because of the nettles. I've bushwhacked in and out just to stay away from the nettle prison that you enter down there.
Wuss.
Well, call me a wuss. I just don't get like nettle legs going through there.
True. Yeah. You don't want to fall over and stuff like that. Understandable. So also Jeff Joss was outside the line with Orla doing a hike in New Jersey that covered 11 miles with 3,000 feet of gain. So I love hearing Jeff stuff with Orla. Orla is such a...
You talk about a listener we should get on the show. I think Jeff qualifies.
Well, yeah, Jesus.
Well, Put him on the list.
Well, good.
Let's get our agent to talk to him and Lisa.
Our agent, which is me and Lisa.
Yeah, well, you've got more than one baseball cap.
Yeah, I mean the Forest Ranger. So Red-Handed Adventure Guys, Mike went up Sugarloaf Mountain on a beautiful day. Darren Stimmed 1 did a local hike and was reminded of the cold. Apparently he didn't have enough of an elevation gain to warm him up like he does in the Catskills, so did a local hike down in the Binghamton area, Endicott area. And then Vicky F. 49 did Ashokan High Point, Maboscus, and Southeast Little Rocky over in the southern part of the Catskills. So that's part of the 100 highest, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's Mambacus isn't, but Little Rocky is. And in my opinion, Little Rocky, that the summit of it, when I was up there, I think it was in January, no snow, bitter cold, really not that much going on up there of interest. However, Mambacus, beautiful. That's a great mountain summit, great forest area, great hike over it. And if you have to go over it to get to Little Rocky, it makes the hike worthwhile.
Does Mambacus have like a little bit of first growth, correct? to the top?
Yeah, I think you're going to run into some first growth up there, but it's got some nice rock ledges. It's a nice hardwood forest with not a lot of undergrowth, so it's easy to make time going through there. But it's just got, a nice feel, that lower Catskill mountain feel. And you'll hear later on in the show that Julie McGuire hit Little Rocky, skied it, which is totally badass to do that. And she survived because it's steep when you hike along that Ashokan trail and you look over to your right and you see the slope coming down off of Little Rocky. You say to yourself, wow, that's fucking steep. I wonder if anybody's ever tried to ski that. And apparently Julie McGuire has and survived.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Insane.
These psychos.
That's it. That's all we can say about that.
Yeah. So once again, thank you to everybody who has tagged the show. Appreciate it. Glad you're listening to the show. Glad you're having a good time. Keep going. Once again, back for winter. This is what we're getting down to. So also, if you think we're doing a good job and you want to support the show, buy us a hard cider on Buy Me a Coffee. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, but you can buy us a hard cider. Also, rate the show on any platform. Really appreciate you rating the show 5 stars or more of what we suggest, even if you don't like the intro or think that we don't support hunting. 5 stars is the way we go. So, Tad, you mentioned before that you were drinking something. What do you got?
Oh, yeah. So when I saw you posted that note that Paradox Brewery and Woodstock Brewery hooked up and have joined forces, I ran out and picked up a 4-pack of the Paradox Brewery IPA, and that's the name, IPA. Apparently, it was formerly known as Beaver Bite, but they dropped that name and just call it IPA. I see one of the reviews on Google AI says it has a balanced bitterness and a subtle malt sweetness. And I'd flip that. It's got the malt sweetness and a really subtle bitterness, but it is highly drinkable. Just leaves a really interesting, lingering taste on your palate. And I'm glad I got 3 more of them to pour down in the coming days.
Nice.
Paradox Brewery IPA, New England style Indian Pale Ale. Delicious.
Sounds good. So,
what do you got, Stosh?
I have an Upward Brewing Company, which is Catskill cider in New York. Once again, I didn't do my research on this, but pretty good. Catskill cider, Lexington. Looks like Livingston Manor. So 171 Main Street in Livingston Manor. So tag them in the show, Upward Brewing. I had them before, but it's been a while. So
yeah. So how is it? Good?
It tastes very traditional cider, like hard, dry. I wouldn't say dry.
So what's
cider.
the sweetness? Sweet, mild,
one
dry.
to 10. Probably a 6, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a little, maybe a 5. It's a little bit drier than what I like. I like really sweet stuff.
Yeah. You go for that Hudson North candy cider.
Yeah, I already had a Hudson North Big Peach. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh
they
yeah.
They should make one they call candy corn cider.
I mean, that's disgusting.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. So.
All right. Well,
Paradox.
I'm going to say this: my Paradox IPA, delicious. Highly recommend it. You can apparently now swing into Woodstock Brewery on Route 28 and buy Paradox beers.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll see me there.
Yeah, definitely. So Catskill News, once again, volunteer for the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, the 500 Club, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountains Club, Visitor Center, Jolly Rovers Trail Crew. Stickers, once again, it's so easy. Send me a message and you can just give me your address. I will send you a couple free stickers. Just just for our love for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. Once again, another Catskill news. The 3,500 Club's winter weekend will be held at the Full Moon Mountain Resort in Big Indian, New York, on your way up to Panther and Slide Mountain, with a dinner for members and guests on Saturday, January 17th, 2025. So, pretty cool event. I have never been up there. I probably should sometime. But I heard it's a great event.
But you drive by it all the time.
At Full Moon Resort, Jessica, to be honest, we always talk about it when we go up there because Jessica has catered at that place back before they became huge. And she said it was one of the most beautiful places she's ever catered to. She's never seen pictures of where the full bowl of that area of where you're going up the giant ledge area comes into play, and the stunning photos is just it blew her mind, and she said it was fantastic. So she's catered there before. It's a great place. It's very expensive, but it's a great place.
Yeah, that's where I met Mike Kudish for the first time.
Oh shit! At the Full Moon?
Yeah, we met up there to go for a hike.
Wow!
Yeah,
at the Full Moon or above that area at the
Full Moon. At the Full Moon, we crossed the Esopus on their as it flows through their property, and we went exploring. So an afternoon exploring with Mike Kudish, consists of maybe 4 hours, 5 hours hiking, maybe 2 or 3 miles, and in part the slow pace is due to his age. But in larger part, it is every little thing in the forest is intriguing to him, and it will prompt him to tell you a story about how this and that interact and etc. So,
yeah, I agree.
It was a great hike, even though it was in terms of distance traveled, very short, but in terms of altering my perspective on the Catskill mountains and the forest, just was mind-changing. So, great experience. Full Moon Resort.
Yeah. So they're having that once again, January 17th, 2025. Have a link in the show notes as well. So what about previous hikes? What do you got, Ted? I don't have anything.
Really? Oh, I thought you, well, at first when I saw your story today, I thought you were out doing the Huckleberry Loop. But then I figured out it was really Sean was out there doing it, and sorry to hear that you didn't get out to hike in the past week. But I spent Friday and Saturday in Connecticut with my wife and daughter doing fun things out there with her. So I missed my normal Saturday hiking in the Catskills. But I did go out on Sunday, and I looked at my grid list for the second grid, see that I need to hike Slide Mountain for the month of October. And I've already done Cornell and Wittenberg in October, did it last October. So I thought, okay, let me just do a hike up Slide. And then I looked down my tracks to see what ridge or area I haven't covered before. And I had not gone from the junction of the Slide Mountain, Woodland Valley, Carriage Road, and the Giant Ledge Panther Trail up over Shogung Top Mountain to Slide. Although I've been up through that upper area to Slide a few times along that ridge, but I hadn't done it from the Giant Ledge intersection. So that's what I did. I parked at the Slide Mountain parking area. I did, and I'm going to take credit for this, I did spend about 10 minutes cleaning up the parking lot around my car. I collected a very impressive pile.
What do you call that?
What's that?
What do you call it again?
I call it take 5. And
I took about 50.
There was like 3 or 4 Poland Spring water bottles I picked up.
Jesus.
A lot of bottle caps, a lot of discarded power food wrappers, napkins from Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So I did extensive cleanup there, and I also, when I left, I did see along the roadside like a lot of other litter along the road. So people, please, be more conscientious about not being a person who leaves behind that stuff, and when you can, pick up what others do leave behind. So nonetheless, I geared up in the Slide Mountain parking area. And I did a road walk down towards the Winnisook Lake, just past the lake. And as I was doing that road walk, I guess maybe this relates back to what we were saying at the beginning of the show. I was chilly, and I started questioning myself whether or not I had the right layers on for the day, or was I underdressed. But I went with that chill, a little bit chillier than being chilled, as I did that road walk. And then I set out on what on my map is called the Slide Mountain Woodland Valley Carriage Road, which is a public easement going through the Winnisook property owner's land. So it is open to the public, but you've got to stay on this carriageway. And it's nice. It's really firm surface. It's not one of these surfaces that you're going to find a lot of mud or muck in the wetter seasons. But it's about a mile jaunt out to the intersection with the giant ledge trail and the trail that continues down to Woodland Valley. When I got there, I banged a right and headed up the Shogung Top Mountain. And Stosh, do you know what Shogung stands for? You don't. It's Japanese for Hemlock Grove.
Nice.
Yeah. And so sure enough, I mean, the initial hike up the first rise towards that mountain was your, traditional Catskill hardwood forest, thankfully with very little, if any, undergrowth. So it was easy walking through it. And then as you approach the top of Shogung Top Mountain, you hit the hemlock forest. You get some rock ledges, which is typical when you go into a hemlock grove. It's more rocky terrain usually. And this was such, and it was just a, nice, majestic, but small hemlock grove. But it was just, wonderful to hike through. I really enjoy hiking through hemlock groves anywhere, particularly in the Catskills.
Of course.
So my notes reflect I hit 2 hemlock groves before I got onto the ridge that takes you up to Little Slide Mountain. Little Slide Mountain is, I think it's at or around 3,500 feet, but it's on private property. It's on Winnisook property. So I notched out the corner to stay on the public property public property. It is posted up there, so they definitely want to keep you off that property. But from that point onward, I have been over that terrain 3 times before, and while it, for the most part, is a really worthwhile ascent to Slide Mountain, you should stay to, I guess it would be the north or east side of that ridge, because along the center, it's really thick and tight.
Nice.
Balsam firs. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a little toothpick forest up there. In fact, it's probably worse than a toothpick forest.
Good way to describe it, actually.
Yeah, and then the other problem is that when you are kind of side hilling through that area to avoid the toothpick forest, that side hill brings you right through several areas with beyond extensive blowdown. Okay, to the point where you're going to travel 20 or 30 yards just over one blown down tree over another. It's almost like tree climbing, but the trees are horizontal and not vertical. And so you hit several segments that are like that. You can't go to the right because you're going into the toothpick forest. And if you go to the left, it gets steep, and I don't know, you're giving up elevation. So you just go through the blowdown. So nonetheless, there's some really, really impressive rock ledges going up through that area. One of them I posted, I think I sent you the reel or the video of, where it's easily a 50-foot vertical wall with this big birch tree at the base of it. Yeah, with its roots wrapped around a tree. I've seen that a couple times before. I had forgotten about it, but when I saw it again, it was like, oh yeah, this is pretty impressive. But when you get to these, there's two significant rock ledges or cliffs like that. And when you look at them head on, you ask yourself, how do I get up and over this? But each of them are passable by going all the way to the right or the left. Although the face right in the center of the mountain looks unpassable. So nonetheless, there's some nice terraces as you continue on. It's some nice pleasant hiking. If you stay to the left side of the ridge going up, you get close to and actually pass over the top of the Slide Mountain. And there's some limited views going up through there. And then the last roughly 300 feet to the trail is fairly steep. It's not super steep, but it's fairly steep. And going through that area, I found some snow up there. Yeah, on the ground. So I hit the trail, topped over Slide, went down into the col, and I had some coordinates from some guy to look for, I guess, what is a plane wreck up there. So I went to look for this plane wreck, but this guy who gave me the coordinates probably just wanted me to go on a wild goose chase because there was no plane wreck where these coordinates were. And that was somewhat annoying, but it was an interesting area over there. There was a lot of springs in that col. And it looks like, way, way, way back when it was a significant drainage area. Nonetheless, I continued on to Cornell. Just as I was approaching Cornell, I bumped into Cool Sarah. Do you know Cool Sarah?
No.
Cool Sarah is the hiker who completed the grid in a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, did around a month for 12 months. And because I know she's been doing this, she told me that she has now completed, I think it was 44 or 45 months, where each month she does the Catskill 9.
Wow.
And so she told me she's kind of getting tired of doing it one month after another. She's going to keep it up for a few more months. She's not sure when she's going to stop doing it, but she's in the mid 40s. So for the past 44 or 45 months, she's done the 9 once a month. I thought that was pretty impressive. So we had a nice little chat, and I continued on to Cornell. Checked out some of the views off of Cornell, and where that little trail is, as you're coming in from Slide, you go to the right, and there's that clearing, but it's got trees around it. Where I am, right? Yep. Did you know there's a view just around the corner from that?
Correct.
Where somebody has cut trees?
I unfortunately know about that.
Yeah. So
they have a certain name for it. So.
Oh yeah, is that the donut?
I've heard of Cloud's Rest.
Oh, Cloud's Rest. Huh. Yeah. Well, I know of several views over there, but I thought I've never had seen this one where there is some cut trees to form this view. So at any rate, I hung out for maybe 30 seconds, turned around, retraced my way up and over Slide, down the Jeep trail, back to the parking area, cleaned up some more stuff, and proceeded to leave. And then the last significant note I had after 13.2 miles of hiking, 3,536 feet of vertical gain, doing Sogum, Little Slide, Cornell, Slide, and back to the parking area. Leaving on my way home, I got behind somebody in a white Subaru Forester with New Jersey plates going down the Frost Valley Road. generally 25 to 35 miles an hour.
Lovely.
Yeah. So annoying. Right. And then they got to Denning, Claryville, and then they made a right where I made a right towards Grahamsville.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Just continuing on at 30, 35, 40 miles an hour. But eventually, the old trusty Jeep, we had a straightaway, and I was able to get it up to speed and pass them and then make my way home. No post-hike bruise and bites, and no post-hike ticks and bites for
Nice.
me. So there you go. That was my hike.
Fantastic hike that you had there. I'm jealous. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, it was a great day for hiking in the Catskills. It was a great hike. Glad I did it.
Snow was in the most secluded place, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was, going up the upper portion of that, just from basically where the slide on slide intersects with that ridge line. There was just, when I say a light dusting, it was just like a light sprinkle. It was like somebody had just sprinkled a little snow around.
Yeah. Probably like one of those, you're like, oh, well, good to see you, old friend.
Yeah. It was kind of like a reminder, put away the summer pack and break out the winter pack, because any hike, you're going to regret not having it. So
correct.
That was my commitment to myself, is next hike in the Catskills. I need to get my winter pack out and just, at least start getting used to having it on my back versus the summer pack. It rides a little bit differently.
A little heavier, yeah.
I'm not going to say it's all that much until I really, when you throw a set of snowshoes on it and all the other stuff, it's going to feel heavier. But just to get it used to it riding on your back, now's a good time to make that transition.
Yeah, why
and
not?
Like I said, I started out that hike and I was like, I had the mental paradox of, should I throw on another layer or not? I did start off, when I started off, with a really thin pair of gloves and a headband, because it was that cold. But I also think it was in part because just the road walk wasn't that stressful.
True. Glad you got out and glad you got a good time. I will be out hopefully this coming weekend. But the one thing that I wanted to remind us, Miranda and us and the listeners, that hopefully we will be having a 200th live episode. Hopefully. I'm reaching out to people to where we can have the date at different places. So I'm hoping more towards the Hudson Valley area. I've reached out to a couple areas that we can have it at. So suggestions, let us know. So we'll see. I've reached out to a couple people. So 200 live episode. Can't believe we've made it this far.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Kudos to you. It's a lot of work. I just kind of tag along and ride on your coattails. So you're carrying all the weight. I appreciate that. The listeners appreciate it. And I think it would be helpful to you is if you kind of started getting a head count from people of how big of a place you needed. We're going to have 7 people, 14, 21.
7,800.
Yeah.
Is it even a number? 7,800? No.
Yeah.
Not at all. So 7,000, Madison Square Garden it will be. So
yeah, definitely. We're opening for the Rangers game.
Wouldn't that be fun? So let's break into the weather forecast. Once again, throw those spikes in the back of your pack no matter what. You never know what you're gonna get. So this Friday looks to have a little bit of it. It says a little bit of snow, 0.01 inches. Not really crazy an impact, but a high of 37 and a low with a wind chill of 7 degrees. Now that is going to linger throughout the whole weekend. Saturday and Sunday, high of both areas of 27 degrees with a low of 7 degrees both days. So once again, it's going to be clear and sunny both days, but you're going to have 28 degrees as the high and a low of 7 degrees with a wind chill. Without the wind chill, you're going to have a staggering temperature of 27 degrees. So once again, we are dealing with cold temperatures in the Catskills, no matter where you are, base, top of the mountain. There's going to be significant winds this weekend. I don't know if the Hurricane Melissa is going to be coming up here. I haven't heard anything yet about that. So the
Well,
winds.
but no, whoa, let's stop. I mean, look at these wind speeds. Thursday, 50 miles an hour. Friday, what's the wind speed on Friday? What are you looking at?
I see 37 and 54.
Really? I see. Well, I'm looking at Wittenberg Mountain.
Oh,
They report on Saturday. They report on Friday midday 90 to 85 miles an hour.
Yeah, like I'm
game on, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So, and Saturday, it's again, they're reporting early in the day, 55 in the morning. These are wind speeds, 55, night, overnight, 35, 25, and then Sunday, wind speeds in the 20s. And I'm going to tell you, most people aren't going to get out Friday, but if it's on Saturday, if you're talking wind speeds in the 50s, falling trees is an issue. Wind burn on your face is going to be an issue. Those wind speeds are game changers. So, you're going from this past weekend, I think it was in the high 40s when I was doing Slide to Cornell. It was pleasant hiking through there at that time. But when I wasn't really dealing with any wind speeds like that. But here, again, I'm now looking at Blackhead Saturday. Again, it's reporting wind speeds beginning of the day Saturday in the mid 50s and Sunday in 25 to 30. So definitely recheck the forecast, have extra gear in your car, be prepared, because if you're going to hike Saturday or Sunday, it's going to be a lot different than what you've seen the past couple of weeks, and maybe in quite a while. Last winter you might not have seen stuff like this. So
yeah,
it'll be tasty out there.
Tasty. I agree with that. So once again, pack. You never know what you're going to hit. So let's hit our last set of sponsors, and then we'll get on to the amazing episode that we have with Julie and Jamie.
Cool.
All right, so discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. Our expert staff is here and help every hiker from beginners to seasoned pros. We also carry a unique variety of gear of souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill in Tannersville. Also embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing, all at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today at anothersummit.org. All right, so let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight we have Julie McGuire and Jamie Kennard here for the Queen of the Catskills film. So Queen of the Catskills film is a skiing film based on Julie doing all 3,500 peaks skiing up and down, partially up and down. But fantastic. I've watched it, and great job by Jamie and great job by Julie. Great to have you guys back on the show again. So Julie, this is your second time, and Jamie, this is your second time, correct?
Yeah, we're veterans.
Damn straight. Julie was on episode 114. She basically talked about her skiing in the Catskills, doing her ski journeys and stuff like that. And, I have my first question, Julie, is how did this not get mentioned in the podcast? Was that like a kept secret that you're just like, hell no, I ain't saying to anybody?
I don't remember why, to be honest.
I was just like, wait a minute. I re-listened to that.
Yeah. I think the reason why, and she's too polite to say it, is she just didn't think the podcast was worthy of being like this, the rollout for the film.
The Toronto Grammys.
She's not.
Yeah, she was under wraps by our marketing department to keep it hush hush. Yeah.
Jamie jumps into the rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie, you were on episode 150 talking about your film Variable, which is a phenomenal film, both about skiing high peaks in the Catskills and on the Adirondacks. So we have both high influential skiers here that have done both the Catskill 3500s. And Julie, are you going to start beginning on the Adirondacks? You going to start doing that quest, that journey?
Yeah, that's an eventual plan. I just need a partner for that one. Like that, I feel is probably too dangerous to just do solo. Or at
Tad.
least
That's you. That's you. Tad's being called to bring back his skiing days up on Bel Air.
Yeah, my days on the slope or on the mountain with skis underfoot are past.
Well, you could just follow me on snowshoes like Jamie did.
Yeah, well, or presumably, if you don't get to it for the next few years, maybe 3 to 4 years from now, I'll be able to get a personal drone, a backcountry drone, and I can just hover to your left and right, with Jamie's camera gear on board and do a documentary.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Once again, they were both on 2 previous episodes. Fantastic time. Had a fantastic time both talking about both of their journeys. And tonight we're going to talk about their new film, Queen of the Catskills. So welcome to the show, guys. And let's start off, Julie. You're the star of this movie. So let's have a little background about yourself.
Okay. I'm a high school English teacher in the South Bronx. And my family's had a house in the Catskills since the early 80s. So I go there on weekends and my breaks, and I spend the summer there. And after my divorce, I got into backcountry skiing. And I was hiking the 35s, and as I was hiking them, I just kept getting this persistent, nudge to ski them. And I would always kind of talk back to myself in my head, and I'd be like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough to do this. And eventually one day I just said, you know what, let me just see how far I can get. And I got pretty far.
Definitely did. I mean, you did them all. I wouldn't say that's pretty far. I'm pretty sure you accomplished that. So now with you've previously been involved in skiing, like you've been a skier kind of all your life, correct?
I didn't really get into skiing until my mid-20s. When I was 10, my parents they started taking me skiing maybe 2-3 times a year. And then by the time I hit my teen years, I didn't want to go upstate anymore, and I gave that up. And then it was towards the end of another relationship in my 20s that, I kind of picked up skiing and became obsessive about it. But I was a resort skier for many years, and I felt like I kind of had a lot of work to do in terms of making up for the fact that I didn't grow up skiing and taking clinics and lessons and stuff. So I spent years doing that, seasonal clinics, lessons, just learning as much as I could. And then I just got the sense that, all right, there needs to be an evolution to my skiing, and backcountry skiing is interesting me. And I remember I was married at the time when I kind of started to get the sense that I wanted to try backcountry skiing, but my ex-wife wanted to stay on the resorts and I wanted to ski with her. So I was like, okay. And then I remember I got a pair of skis and I was like, you know what, let me put a touring setup on them. Just something told me to do that. And I didn't know that this was towards the end of my marriage. I didn't know that at the time. So it was I think the universe was planting seeds all along, all right, you're going to do this. And so I had the backcountry skis already when I decided to start. So that was good.
Where were you a resort skier at? Where were your favorite locations?
Locally, I was a pass holder at Wyndham for many years, and then I switched over to Hunter. And then I would just travel around the world to different resorts.
Nice.
For vacations.
You were I remember seeing a lot of your stuff on social media. Is you go up to Killington a lot and up.
Oh yeah, spring skiing in Killington. It's a scene. It's a lot of fun.
You're one of them those type of people that finish out the last snows of the season, right? You're always up there at the last day, right?
I try to be a lot of people go for like that June 1st weekend, but since I have to drive 3 hours, like I don't know, sometimes it's just like not worth it to do that one run to get the t-shirt. So usually by Memorial Day is usually my last weekend.
Wow, crazy, crazy. So great once again. And then you're also with the 3500 Club. What are you doing with them?
I'm a board member for the 3500 Club. I'm also the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference liaison, and I work on the canister, and I'm going to be involved with trail maintenance for the club, and I'm also on their education committee.
God damn. Oh, that's all I gotta say. Yeah, she's like, yeah. Don't know, but hey, well, good luck for all of that. Once again, the podcast is we support the 3500 Club and we support the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference as well. So great organization. And once again, background is amazing. You're all over the place, and I can see why Jamie wanted to make a film about you now. So it just goes to the show. And then Jamie, how about you? So how about your background? A little bit background about yourself.
Sure. I've been a resident of the Catskills for about 20 years now at this point, and that sort of parallels my dip into backcountry skiing. It's been about 2 decades of backcountry skiing, and yeah, I've been done a couple rounds of the 35s, done a round of the 46s, and so I've been kind of up and about through all these mountains. And on the work side, I've been a graphic designer most of my life, owned a wine bar, and then these last couple of years I moved into trying to make documentary films and doing some wildlife photography.
Making documentary films about yourself doing the 46ers skiing. That was a variable, awesome movie, by the way. That was fantastic. Can you tell us about like that journey that kind of progressed you in from graphic designing into making like documentaries?
Yeah. Let's see, where do we start here? Well, I guess I'll start in the middle. Just before COVID, my wife and also business partner up here became ill and with stage 4 cancer. And so I spent about 2 years taking care of her. And during that period of time, we had to sell our business, and just, obviously there's lots of life changes that come along with a predicament like that. And after I lost Tracy at the end of 2021, I sort of self-prescribed to myself. I sort of gave myself a task to sort of push myself forward. And so in the beginning of 2022, I decided to buy a camera, and with the idea of attempting or teaching myself or learning to make documentary films. So that was kind of the beginning of that journey. And really, it was just a few months after I purchased that camera that Julie and I met up, and I just sort of, we had just met up. We were sort of meeting as friends for the first time, face to face. And before that day ended, I just asked her if she would consider letting me make a documentary film about her journey. So I really just sort of a cold call. I just sort of threw myself out there and, told myself the worst thing that she was going to say is no. And, the best thing that she could say is, maybe or yes. And she said yes. So that was sort of the beginning of my filmmaking journey.
She said yes. Yay.
Yeah.
Did you know that you were going to ask me that day? Like, oh, Julie's going to Bel Air, I'm going to ask her. Or was it just spur of the moment? Like, maybe I should do.
I feel like No, I don't know that it was that premeditated. I think I was more focused on the fact that you and I were going to go skiing because Bel Air had just reopened, in April, and I was more excited about that. And I think just from getting to know you, riding the chairlift a few times, I think that probably just gave me a little boost of confidence to then ask that question. But yeah, I don't think it was a premeditated thing that day, but I just felt like it was an opportunity that I had to seize the moment. Well, you and I were where I had you cornered on a chairlift, and
Yeah, right.
you had to, it would have been awkward for you to say no, and we'd have to ride, 10 more minutes to the top. So yeah, maybe that was part of it.
Yeah. So this was a contract by duress, I take it, that Julie had no way out other than yes. But so Jamie, what was it that first time the two of you guys meet up on skis that, drew you to ask her in that moment to be the subject of a documentary?
Yeah, I was intimately familiar with what skiing the Catskill 35s was like, in part because I did it with my brother back in 2012 and 2013 and 2014. And, nobody, to my knowledge, had been really trying to ski them for almost a decade. And, around, I think, 2021, I started to see online through social media that Julie was starting to chip away at them and sort of document on her own her experiences out there. And so, yeah, it really caught my eye for a number of reasons. Just, Julie's posts about what she was doing were pretty passionate. And, it had been almost a decade since my brother and I had skied them. And, I was partially very excited that someone was finally doing it. I mean, I knew it was just a matter of time before someone else came along and did it, or attempted to do it. And so, yeah, I was moved by what I saw Julie writing about, and like I said, because I knew what she was getting into, and I had a sense of like what the rest of her journey might look like or unfold. I mean, of course, you don't really know, but yeah, I knew it was going to be a hard thing. And I think I wanted to be there for a lot of different reasons. One, to document it. Two, just to sort of support her, maybe just in the background. And I mean, I say that, Julie really did this thing alone. I was there for a handful of the peaks, but, I was very much hands off. We might have discussed a few things, but this was really Julie's journey. And it was up to her to plan things out and to figure out the routes and to do everything. And so I was really just along for the ride, and there truly kind of as like a fly on the wall documentarian. I really just tried to stay in the background.
And Julie, is that how it went down? You're riding up the chairlift with Jamie. You guys have met up for the first time to go skiing. He asks you to be the subject of a documentary film. I'm assuming that's the first time that you were on a chairlift and some fellow says, "Hey, by the way, I have this camera and I want to start filming you doing these skiing bushwhacks." So what was your impression when he pitched this to you? Did you really say yes on the spot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was so flattered. I was like, someone wants to film me skiing? Like, that's crazy. I was like, it just seemed like an opportunity that the universe was throwing my way. Why wouldn't I say yes? And also Jamie had released like a couple like super short things. There was the Ski Tech and the Ciderist. They were like maybe like 5 minutes long. And like those were like short. So well done. Like I think like the Ski Tech was like picked up by unofficial networks like right away and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah. But even if I hadn't seen those, I would have said yes.
Okay. Wow. And so when you guys are discussing doing the documentary, are there any restrictions that you put on Jamie? Did you tell him he can't film this? You don't want him to be here for this or that?
Nope.
No, you're shaking your head no. So there was no restrictions.
Nope.
Wow. Okay. So what was it like? You had spent all this time out in the Catskills with your skis, your ski gear, skinning up these backcountry mountains, skiing down with little snow, right? Skiing into trees and skiing over all that stuff that we have to hike over. And now all of a sudden, for the first time, you got somebody with you with camera gear filming you. What did that feel like?
It didn't feel any different. The only thing that was different was that I mean, it feels safer when there's someone like with you. So it's like, yeah, it feels safer, right? So there's like less anxiety. But you know, like when you're like when I've, skied a peak, alone, like it's kind of like, more rewarding.
Mhm.
So, but because I had to rely on myself, even though like the process might be kind of like more anxiety inducing. But that's like the only difference. I was really happy to have him on Lone and Rocky though, because I like those two peaks, like from the get-go, I was like, oh, I should probably take someone with me on those. So I was very happy to have his presence. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it was just I just did my thing and he just followed me.
And did you miss the solitude, or did the presence of somebody else kind of, and the safety that or comfort that provided, replace that?
I mean, it's like a different, there's pros and cons. Like, the pro is that I feel safer, I am safer. And, there's someone to like sometimes talk to and stuff. The con is like I'm not immersed in my internal world as much. And it requires maybe like it feels like less self-reliance because psychologically, like I know that there's someone there that can help me figure out a problem should something arise. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it would be really interesting to kind of like see footage of what this looks like because I have no idea what I look like when I'm doing this. And I know like when I've been out with like my friend Kyle Bittner and Alex Perfect and we're like skiing in the backcountry and like sometimes like, like they go first. I'm like, oh my God, that looks crazy. That looks so sketchy and dangerous. And then I'll do it and it feels normal. I'm like, wait, that means that when I'm doing this, it's sketchy and dangerous. So it was really interesting to kind of, get footage of what that looks like.
So, the one question I have is that Jamie said this was all about you. So there were any times where you like looked at Jamie and were just like, oh, maybe we should go over here. And Jamie's like, screw you. You do what you do. I'm just filming this.
No,
Oh,
nope.
what a good guy. Nice.
Yeah, I'm really, like I said, I'm a fly on the wall and I'm really just trying to be in the background. And half the time I'm just chasing after Julie. We weren't setting up shots. I wasn't really, of all the times we went out, I feel like I can count on one hand where maybe I just said, like, hold up a minute, I'm going to go up there and just get set up.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Julie was just like on her sort of trajectory. And if you've ever hiked or skied with Julie, it's like being with like four locomotives, like combined into one. Like there's no off switch, and she just goes. And so, when I'm out there filming, I chose to be on snowshoes so I could maneuver a little bit easier. And I'm just really just huffing all over the place, and it's exhausting because I've got my camera gear and I can't really use like hiking poles for the most part. And I'm breaking trail myself because I'm trying to go off to the side or go up ahead of her. And often when she and I were out, we the times that we filmed together usually tended to be after a couple big snowstorms. And so we were the first ones out there, and either she or I were breaking trail. So we're really kind of putting in the work. But yeah, it's exhausting being the only camera person out there trying to keep up with someone and just letting Julie go at her natural pace, like up and down the mountain. And that was important to me, just to like try to let things unfold naturally and to just not get in her way.
Julie, how many
Yeah.
times did you look back at him and be like, you okay? Like he's just like huffing and puffing and you're just like, you okay?
Alone in Rocky, I was concerned a little bit about him. I was.
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah.
Well then, let's continue on that. How many like inches in snow like that? That's part of the documentary is when you were up on Lone in the Rocky. Like how many inches of snow did you guys have to break?
Up top a lot.
Yeah, at the top a lot, not so
Yeah,
much
a few
like at
feet.
the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of the last peaks that Julie did. It was last November. one of those big snowstorms came through, and Julie was super anxious to button up the last few peaks. And the thing about big snowfalls, and then this is coming from a backcountry skier, that first big snowfall that happens out in the mountains, if you're a backcountry skier, you sort of you lose rational thought, and you just get so excited to go out there and to do the thing and to be in the woods. And I knew Julie was really excited to get out there and tick off those peaks. I just, I wasn't thinking straight. I packed 1 liter of water for the entire day, not enough food. I didn't bring any hiking poles. And we were breaking trail on some really dense, deep snow. And once we get up, higher, she's on skis, which have more flotation. So she's able to kind of stay on top of the snow. And I'm just on my snowshoes, going, knee deep or hip deep. And this really dense, wet snow that's just, by the time later in the day, is just pouring off the tops of the trees. And I got really dehydrated to the point where I was almost vomiting on the trail, and just kind of keeled over. And Julie was gracious enough to spare some of her liquids with me. And it was just one of those moments where you're really excited to get out into the backcountry, but it's kind of like the first of the year, or first winter hike or backcountry ski of the year. And I was just, despite having done this for almost 20 years, I was just sort of grossly underprepared that day. And it was just my own fault. I'd done those peaks a few times. I'd skied them. I had this idea in my mind of what I was getting into, and it was different that day. And it was different also because I'm carrying a lot of extra camera gear, and it's awkward, and I'm sort of holding it in front of me, and I have no hiking poles. And so, Julie and I were out there for the better part of half a day, and breaking trail with no poles and all this extra weight. It just sort of just put me over the edge. So it was a good teaching moment for myself.
Were you folks taking the traditional route up over the East Branch, up the East Branch, then up Lone over to Rocky, back down to the East Branch along the so-called Fisherman's Path? Is that
we took the herd path up Lone over to Rocky, but as opposed to taking the Fisherman's Path, because it can just be really hard to follow. I just followed the ridge back to Lone and then dropped back down.
Nice. So you retraced on your way back? Yeah, that's the best way to do in deep snow, in my opinion, up there. And I if you were up there the same weekend that I hiked Friday and Balsam Cap, which are just on a continuation of that ridge, if you will. I looked at my notes. That was November 23rd.
It was probably around then.
Oh yeah, the snow in spots was waist deep, which is so uncommon for the beginning of the year. And in spots, the consistency was variable because it was light. It was light. I know skiers know what that word means. It was really light and fluffy in spots, so you could not get traction because it didn't pack down enough. And then in other spots, it was almost like liquid cement. So no matter what you do, it was hard to push through. And I know I was out with Danny Davis and one other that day, and for Friday and Balsam Cap, we had an early start. I was surprised that we did come down to Moon Hall with our headlamps on. That's how long it took us. So it's not surprising that you guys doing a longer hike in those conditions were really, having a rough go of it out there. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah. And just to make the point that I was really hands off on the planning. Years ago when I had skied it with my brother, we sort of did a full loop. And so when we got up to Rocky, we actually continued and kind of bushwhack skied down a little bit more to that Peekamoose side of things. And so we kind of just did a full loop. And in my mind, that's what Julie and I were going to do, though we hadn't discussed it. But in her mind, she knew that she was going to go up to both peaks and then backtrack. And so from Rocky, we started back down. And in my mind, we were done with going over mountains. We were just headed back down. We were kind of doing a full loop. And then we get down to the col and we start going back up. And I'm like, Julie, where are we going? She's like,
Yeah.
we're backtracking. We're going up, back to the first peak. And my heart, I didn't say anything to her, but I was so exhausted at that point, and my heart really just sunk, because now I'm thinking I have to climb a third mountain with all this gear, and I'm really just like running out of steam here. And
but the fisherman's
it was a
path
real low point.
sucks.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful going from all the way from rocky, especially in the snow with the ice and stuff, unpredictable as heck. And Jamie, that she did the right move. You would have been miserable going back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ditto that as well. That was definitely, when you're up there on rocky and a bad snowfall like that, or for a skier, a great snowfall, but not necessarily when you're in the backcountry, retracing is the best way out.
Yeah,
that's my view. So
So Jamie, you talked about this in Variable, and Julie, I'm guessing this happened with you because you did this kind of at the worst time so far that we've had with skiing in the Catskills in the past. At forever, the lack of snow, the amount of ice you've had to do this in was just absolutely insane. So how does that contribute to filming this thing? How did that bring to your mind of like, God damn, I gotta try to ski one of these with so much ice and 90% of the peak? Like,
I think Jamie only followed me after storms, so I don't think we had to deal with that as much
for the movie in what we were filming, but not for your personal journey.
No, not for my personal journey. Yeah, I had to contend with a lot, but I thought you meant like for the film. For the film, Jamie was just filming me like after storms, but the rest of the journey was rocks and ice.
I mean, the same thing happened with you on Variable, Jamie. Like you had to battle that as well. So we're
it's really it's tough. When my brother and I finished the Catskills 10 years ago, we had a lot more snow and a lot more luxury to somewhat pick and choose when we were going out. And, I guess, to your point about lack of snow, 2 winters ago, Julie had her heart set on finishing skiing all of the Catskill high peaks. We had already started filming, and she was, the winter of 24 was coming up, and I knew that she really wanted to just go gung-ho and finish them all. And I got really nervous because I knew that I was going to be up in the Adirondacks trying to finish up my ski project up there, which, I moved up to the Adirondacks for about 6 weeks that winter. And I thought to myself, and I didn't say anything to Julie, but I thought to myself, there's no way Julie's going to wait for me to be done with my ski project so I can come back and film her ski project. And, this movie can have a really nice ending. And I got really nervous that she, it was going to snow down here in the Catskills, and she was going to finish skiing all of her peaks. And, we weren't going to have a movie or an ending. And it turns out there was no snow down here that winter. I think you got out one
storm.
One storm.
And I did North Dome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was it. And then there was no backcountry skiing to be had at all here. And so as sad as that was for Julie, secretly it was, I guess for the movie, it was a really great thing. And so things just worked out that I was able to finish my thing. And then, come the beginning of last winter, Julie was able to get out and finish hers. But and that's part of just making a documentary film. You can plan in your mind. You have this idea of how things might unfold, but you don't really know. And Julie certainly wasn't beholden to me to wait around for my schedule. So it just worked out that way.
Awesome.
And ironically, Julie finished up at the beginning of what turned out to be a great snow season in the Catskills.
At least the beginning was a great snow season.
Yeah.
We didn't get as many storms like afterwards, but it was still decent. Like I was happy with it.
But we also didn't get any big thaws, so the snow we did get tended to stay. And I remember, bushwhacking at times out there where when I would punch through the crusty layer, I'd go right up to my crotch, which when you're out by yourself is kind of shocking, at least the first time it happens.
Yeah.
So before we get back into the experience, Jamie, why don't you just give us a rundown on this gear that you were carrying so we have a sense of, I have an impression that it's more than just an iPhone and a GoPro camera.
Yeah, though those are kind of two of the three things that I use and did actually use for Julie's film. But along with those things, I'm carrying, I won't get too technical, but I'm carrying a Canon R5, which is sort of a hybrid photo video camera. So I'm shooting in 4K resolution, and I've just got a little shotgun mic mounted on top. And that's really it. And a little camera cage and some handles and things to hold on to, but pretty minimal setup out there. I'm not taking bigger gimbals that kind of smooth things out, and I'm just using one lens, 24-70 lens, so it gives me a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of reach, but I don't need to go too deep with zoom out there, and I don't really want to deal with changing lenses out in all the snow and rain. So pretty minimal setup, and then just lots of extra batteries, and I will bring a backup camera and a backup lens just in case things fail out there. So I am carrying extra weight and extra gear, but often it's not anything that I end up using when I'm out there.
So in terms that people who frequently listen to this podcast with understand, and you might not at first, but I'll still ask it this way. Yeah. Was your total setup heavier or lighter than Stosh's backpack?
True. Good question. Good question.
Which, according to Stosh's accounts, is measured in tons. He talks about tonnage. Isn't that right, Stosh?
I will say yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say it's probably just slightly lighter than Stosh's backpack.
So are you over
I'm
or under
overpacker.
dry weight? Are you over or under 30 pounds?
It's definitely under.
That's like half of what I carry.
Stosh is calling you a
probably in that
lightweight.
20 to 25 range, I feel like,
Impressive. With all the batteries and stuff like that. I mean, you also once again, you're in the season of where it's unpredictable with the snow falling, waterproof, stuff like that. You have to do all precautions to protect this stuff as much as you can.
Yeah. Maybe it's more, I only ever weigh my backpack, so I'm doing big overnights. So with this, but yeah, maybe it's up close to 30 pounds, but definitely not over. It's somewhere in that 25-pound range, I would say. Yeah.
So, side note, I when I started hiking again, I did a lot of backpacking when I was younger, and then I started hiking with my daughters. But it wasn't until I started listening to Stosh in this podcast that I actually weighed my backpack. Because this guy's talking about this hefty, heavy backpack, and I'm like, wow, I wonder how much I'm carrying. And I barely, even with the stuff for my daughters, dry, I was still just barely over 10 pounds. Maybe I was
that's amazing. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
I seriously probably carry enough for all three of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that the next time we go hiking. I'm just going to bring a water bottle, a Poland Spring water bottle, and a pair of extra flip-flops.
Yeah. So Jamie, the batteries you had to carry during this, because the batteries die out quicker in the cold. Are you have to carry more batteries for your iPhone and then more batteries for the GoPro and stuff like that? That's a hefty. Did you make Julie do any of this, or she's just she's like, yeah, you can do all this stuff. I'm just gonna ski.
No, and with when you're filming, with camera batteries or even backup batteries for your phone, I'll use a little hip pack that I could sort of sling over my shoulder and have against my chest. And for two reasons: one, just so I have easier access for batteries to switch out, and two, it's closer to my body, so it's actually keeping those batteries warm, which is important. So I don't have them in my backpack, and I'm not getting, wet from the snow or the melt in the rain, or just getting cold and unusable. So I keep those really close to my chest.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotta be tough to do that and stuff like that. Just to, once again, prepare for Julie's descending down the mountain and you see that little red battery thing happen and you're just like, gosh, shit.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, no, it happens to all of us, and I'm certainly there's been times where you think it's recording and it's not recording, and
Yep.
everything happens. But yeah, you just you shoot as much as you can out there, and you just try to come back with lots of footage that you can kind of pull the good stuff from, and yeah, you expect that you're probably not going to capture every amazing moment out there, but yeah, there was plenty of stuff to pull from.
Nice. So now, Julie, how did this feel with you, like going up, climbing up, and all of a sudden, you got a guy, you look over and the guy's staring at you with a GoPro going or stuff like that. And you're like, is this okay? Like, am I doing it right? Like,
Oh no, I didn't even think about that. I was just focused on like what was ahead of me and what I needed to like the obstacles and how I was going to like overcome them. I didn't even think about Jamie's filming.
well, that's pretty good. You're just doing your thing, and Jamie's just trying to keep up with you, and just looking back, like, are you gonna keep up with this? We got to keep this going.
Yeah, I have to say it's I really liked the process. It was perfect. It was he didn't try to advise me on like what to do. Honestly, if he like unless like if I was going to do something that was going to put us all in danger, like I hope that he would say something, and I think he would. But otherwise, he really just let me do my thing. And I think I would have been annoyed if he was trying to maybe like tell me what to do, because it's just like, oh, I got this. Like I got this, So and before I ski these peaks, I hike them from every approach. I think about, like my first choice in the route that I want to ski, a backup choice. I have everything like planned out. So, I don't really want to deviate from that. Even if it's someone with experience telling me, oh, maybe you should do this. I just kind of like want to stick with my plan and what I feel comfortable with.
Correct. Now, was you like your routes and stuff like that based on, the safest, the funnest, a mix of all, I'm guessing. There's a lot of, I got to admit, awesome skiable terrain in the Catskills.
Hmm.
From somebody who doesn't ski, just remember that.
Going up Oshokin High Point, I looked at that terrain. I was just like, God damn, this would be fun to ski, even though I don't ski.
I skied Little Rocky off of that, and there's lots of great terrain there. I mean, actually, like the lower 67 has a lot of like more skiable stuff, but even then it's nerve-wracking, because even though then I can actually take my skins off and go into full downhill mode, I'm usually like off the trail, trying to find like a section where like the trees are nicely spread apart and stuff. But there's so much blowdown, and our like snowpack is like so little that it's a constant like oh my God, please, like, oh crap, here's like blowdown. Uh-oh, I can't stop and avoid it. Please let my skis go over this. Please don't let my tips get caught underneath this. It's constantly that worry. So it's still a lot of anxiety, It's like one of those, it's still kind of type 2 fun,
Well, I'm going to say it's more than just type 2. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a really dangerous activity, and I don't think many of our listeners actually comprehend the level of danger of what you're doing, because on the one hand, it's not like going out to the Rocky Mountains and skiing in the backcountry where you're on top of feet of snow over boulders and blowdown and all this stuff. In the Catskills, that sometimes you will see it, or the silhouette of blowdown, under the snow. But my impression is when you're going down this stuff, if your skis are inches below the snow surface, anything below that surface is going to potentially trip you up, and you don't know it until you hit it. And wow, you're out there by yourself. That's hardcore, in my opinion. I'm totally like, wow, it's not something I would do. So I'm being frank and honest. I've done some really wild stuff on skis. I couldn't imagine skiing in the Catskills in the backcountry. So,
especially during this time of climate change and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to you. Kudos to Jamie, his brother. Your brother is Doug.
Doug. Yep.
Yeah, and then Kyle to pull it off in one winter. But of
Yeah.
course, he had feet of snow to work with, which is a game changer.
Yeah.
So what we've talked about the experience, we've talked about the gear and some of the situations, and both of you have been on the podcast before with your accounts of your backcountry experience. But one of the things that we haven't discussed before, which for me would be like a very bizarre experience, I think. But Julie, what was it like to sit in a room full of people that were either known to you and or strangers? And there it is on the big screen. Your documentary, Queen of the Catskills, like totally exposed.
Which just debuted in New York City last week. So that's where.
Yeah, I had that experience.
So tell us about it. What was that like? I mean, would you rather have been out skiing lone and rocky again as opposed to being in that room? Where were you more comfortable?
I think there's anxiety because you don't know how people are going to receive it. I mean, I thought it was a good film, but people are very critical of kind of like bushwhack skiing. So I wasn't sure if people would get it or appreciate it, especially, in the out west on those tour dates. I wasn't sure if people would appreciate it. I think kind of what I was most nervous about is that, I talk about some very personal things in the film. And so, it's one thing to have a one-on-one interview or to write about something, when you're alone in your room typing on your laptop. But it's another thing to have a whole room of strangers, hearing you talk about this personal stuff. That I was like, oh man, I kind of want to hide a little bit. But it was, most of my ski family showed up from all over, which I thought was, just so nice of them. I felt really supported. My mom came out. My college roommate came. I think sometimes it's a little bit more nerve-wracking with people that I know for some reason, especially the doing Q&As and stuff. Because I guess maybe if I screw up, they're gonna remember because I see them all the time. But it turned out well, I think, and I had a great time.
Nice. Now, with that, afterwards, were you dark red of the oh my God, that was about me, and everybody starts clapping? You're just like, oh Jesus, that's to put your head down and kind of be are you just God damn, that was awesome? It's a tough question, right? It just
yeah. Maybe there is really the people that were with me were very vocal about liking it, so that made me feel relieved. And then I'd heard that it'd been well received in the tour dates out west and stuff. So that made me feel really good.
Jamie, what did they think about that? I mean, once again, the difference between out west and here is trees all over the place in the way, and then out there it's just open. You can fly.
Yeah, I think for the people that are sort of born and bred and have lived their lives out there, they're just fascinated at what they're seeing. I mean, there's a scene in the movie that I sort of shot from above. It almost looks like it's shot from a drone, but it's not. I'm sort of holding a camera on a extended stick, so I'm about 12 feet in the air. And Julie is just swallowed by conifer trees. I mean, she's just in the middle of it. She looks like she's swimming. You can't even see a way out. And she's sort of thrashing her way through. Well, she's on her skis. And every time that scene comes up, and I've seen the movie a few times out west, I mean, people are just sort of laughing in horror of what they're seeing, because it is just not a normal scene that you would expect to see someone on skis doing. So yeah, I think there's a real fascination. And then I think, there's a second group of people that sort of grew up skiing here on the East Coast, and, they live out west now, and they really, and I saw this when I screened Variable out in Colorado last year as well. They're just hungry to see what it's like back on the East Coast, because they have a real appreciation for everything, the terrain, just the weather, everything that we have to deal with as winter enthusiasts or skiers here on the East Coast. So yeah, I think they appreciate it. They might be coming from different places in their appreciation or fascination with it. But yeah, it's been well received.
Yeah. The one thing that I would like, the question I would get, like, how slow are you going? Because everybody out west just flies down that mountain, and they see this terrain over here that Julie and you battled. It's just like, you guys must have been going slow. How is that even skiing? Like, nobody knows out west of going that slow down the mountain, because you have to go down 50 feet of different sets of layers of ledges.
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure Julie will start to get this question too, but people always ask me after they've seen Variable, they always ask, how many pairs of skis did we go through, skiing all these high peaks? And, in my case, and I think maybe in Julie's case, it's the same answer.
Yeah.
It's just like one pair of skis the whole
Nice.
time for the most part. And
Yeah.
to your point, it's because we are going so slow, with the exception of, maybe a peak here and there. We're really just taking our time, like inching our way down a lot of these things, because there are so many hazards. And, when you're out there, you're really trying to avoid injury. That's like number one. So it's not like you're at the resort going 30, 40 miles an hour and you hit a random rock on the trail and it just rips open the bottom of your ski. Yeah, we tend to be going pretty slow out there in the backcountry.
I'm being a non-skier. Like, how slow is slow? Like you said, 30, 40 miles an hour. Jesus Christ. Being like, I used to snowboard back when I was a kid, but how fast are you guys going down these Catskills? Like, I'm usually going down is maybe like 3 miles per hour on trail. What is it like on skis?
I would just say, like, I know, if Stasha, if you and I were at the top of a mountain, I was going to go down on skis, most of the Catskills or the Adirondacks, and you were on snowshoes. Most of those peaks, you would get to the trailhead. You would get to the car first. Yeah, we're just taking our time, picking our way down. And then, once we get to the flatter areas, we're skinning out, which is somewhat equivalent of like just a stride, like a natural walking stride. So yeah, I think, hiking is generally going to be a little bit faster in this kind of tricky environment with the rocks and the blowdown and the trees and the cliffs.
Yeah, I think that's why I was so concerned about like being efficient and minimizing transitioning from uphill to downhill mode, because I realized like that eats up time and all of this is taking so much. But I think I became a lot more efficient at the downhill as like the process like went on. Like I felt like, okay, maybe like there are times when I can outrun that hiker on the way down.
Yeah.
The beginning was like a different story, but I eventually figured stuff out, and like I was able to like, eventually move faster on the way down.
Confidence. You build your confidence.
But I mean, like ledges are always like the scary thing, because there's no like run out, right? So you're going to just have to point your skis down, right? And just, hope you don't hit a tree. And so what I did was, one day, like in the very beginning, it would just take me so long. Like I'd just be like, oh, maybe I can do kick turns down these ledges or whatever. Or like, all right, maybe I just have to take off my skis. I'm like, this is untenable. I can't keep doing this. And then it must have been within like maybe like the first 5 peaks or something. One day I was like, oh, I wonder if I keep my skins on, if, that can slow me down and maybe I can, deal with this like that. So I remember, I don't remember which peak it was. I wish I did, but I was like, okay. And I remember I just pointed my skis down like this series of ledges. And I was like, okay. And I tried to position them so it was like in between a couple trees. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I think I even just closed my eyes because I was like, all right. And I just went for it. And yes, you are going to go very fast down the ledges, but I don't need as long a run out. So it's like, I don't need as like long a runway when I'm landing. So, so once I had that, I was like, oh, oh, that's the secret. And then I could just like keep going, like I was like, all right, I figured this out. Um, so yeah, that
Amazing.
helped save time.
Cool. So, Jamie, when you're doing all the, I mean, we're talking about the screening stuff, but I got one last question before Tag can go in and do whatever he'd like. Editing. Like, were you and Julie like going back and forth on the editing process or stuff, or was it like I know being a musician, like, you record something, you think it sucks, you re-record it again, that sucks even more. Then you go back to your first recording, you think that's good, but then you record it again and it sucks again. Like, it's just back and forth. Did you have that thought process as well? It's just like, oh, this looks great, and then you're like, oh, that's wrong. Let me redo that again. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's just part of editing anything. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's this sort of nightmarish loop of self-doubt and thinking it's terrible and then making it, great and then making it terrible again. But I mean, Julie didn't have any feedback. She really didn't see a
Hmm.
version of the film until it was pretty much done. But one of the first versions of the film, so I had there was one sort of constraint that I gave myself from the very beginning of the editing process, was that this film was not going to be longer, not 1 second longer than 15 minutes.
oh wow,
And so that was just a time constraint that I put on the film and like the editing process. Um, and I had a version of the film last May, the first sort of cut. And right around the time that I finished that, I learned of a brand new meetup group here in the Hudson Valley, that is for documentary filmmakers to screen like a work in progress, or a short film, anything that you're working on, and to get feedback on. And so I went to this meeting and screened in front of 20 strangers because I didn't know anyone there. And it's all industry people that have been in all aspects of the industry, for many years. And the film finishes, and the facilitator went around the room, and every single person in that room gave me feedback. And they all had the same feedback, which was to cut certain scenes out of the movie and put more of Julie in the movie. I had a few interviews, of some other folks in the movie, and I thought the version of the movie was great. I really loved the contributions of these other folks, and everyone said like, we just want to see more of Julie. We want to hear more of Julie's story. And I drove home that night just with this like sinking feeling that I had to go and rework this film. And so I spent a few more weeks reworking the film to the point where you see it now. And yeah, it's sort of a hard pill to swallow, but when 20 people in a room are giving you all the same feedback, it's confirmation that you need to listen to that and at least try what they're telling you to do. And yeah, I think, it would be fun to do a director's cut of the movie, a longer version of the movie, and bring back all those interviews, because they're great. And they include Kyle Bittner, who we've talked about, and is the fourth person to have skied the Catskills. And I loved everything that they had to say. And everyone knew Julie from sort of different points in her life, or had different, knew her in different ways. But yeah, it sort of came down to, I really had this time constraint that I was working within, and the feedback was just like, really just like tell Julie's story from Julie's perspective. And that's the route that I ended up taking in the end.
And Jamie, is it fair to say that the folks that were involved in that meetup screening and review process, they were more than just amateurs or novices at this? I would imagine a group like that in the Hudson Valley, you've got a pretty large talent quotient.
Oh, these were
there.
all professionals. These were people that had been editors, film and TV editors in the city. There was a person that worked for the Emmys. There were people that have, make their money off of like really successful YouTube channels. There's people that were documentary filmmakers. Yeah, they were, I'm new to this world, but these people, some of these people were retired. They've been in the business for 40 years. So yeah, these were all professionals that had really unique perspectives. So yeah, it was totally invaluable. the name of the meetup group is DocuClub HV. You can look it up, and they meet every month down in Ellenville, and it's a really great opportunity to get feedback on something that you're working from. A really great crowd.
Ellenville is kind of like one of the unknown gems of the Catskill, Schwangunk region.
Yeah.
So you go back to your editing studio, you cut certain parts, you put more of Julie in, you arrive at your 14-minute and 59-second product.
It's exactly how long it is. Yep.
And you go back to the start, you hit play, you sit back, you watch it. What's your impression?
I think every time I watch it, I think I'm just like really proud of what Julie did. I mean, I'm proud of like the film that I made and the story that I made, but I think like I'm most proud of like just, being able to capture, I started filming with Julie almost 4 years ago. So it's like this time capsule in a way. And I couldn't squeeze in everything that I filmed into this 15-minute film, but as I'm watching it, I'm sort of replaying all of this experience that I had out there with Julie, and also just getting to know Julie, because we didn't really know each other at the beginning of this film journey together. And so, yeah, I think there's just a lot of things that sort of play back in my head at that same time. So I think, I don't know, I'm just like, I'm really proud to see like where Julie was when we started and just sort of where things ended up, and just everything that I learned about her, and just on a personal level. And, the film that I started out when I first approached Julie, the film that I, in my mind, loosely and sort of naively that I was going to make was just this kind of cool ski film of a woman going and backcountry skiing, and there might be some epic shots out there, and she was going to do this cool thing. And that is part of what the film is about, but there's so much more that ended up sort of unfolding, or that I learned about Julie. And the film really kind of took a real sort of right turn as far as like what it ended up being. And that was just kind of a nice thing to have happen. And it was not on my radar at all when I started. I really had like kind of a different idea of what the film was gonna turn into. So I think that's like the nice and also challenging thing about making documentary films is you're not always in control of the outcome, and you kind of have to just let things unfold and try to tell that story.
So speaking of not being in control of the outcome and letting the story be told, Julie, when you watched the 14.59 second film of more than just your skiing adventure in the Catskills, but this overall, I'm going to call it a therapeutic project, if you will, just to put a label on it. What did you think?
I was so relieved that I liked it because I didn't have any input like on the film. Like I knew that this was his film.
And I was extremely relieved that she didn't immediately say like, you can't include that, because I really like, I was just, my palms were sweating like while she watched it. I was pretty nervous.
You guys were together? Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I went up to her place near Wyndham, and we just sat down, just the two of us. And
did you leave your car running?
It's nerve-wracking. Yeah, you just don't know, because she could have turned to me and said like, I just don't want any of this shared. Yes, I told you this, but like take this all out, and that would have been heartbreaking. So
Julie, what do you think? I mean, is it a fair and accurate portrayal of what your takeaway from this experience is? Because I know to you, it was more than just like, I'm going to go out and do the 3,500 and ski them and check this box off of some list of projects I want to get done. I think it was part of a bigger part of your life than just tackling 35 mountains. And so do you think that the documentary film conveys that? And
yeah, I do. I think that's why I liked it so much. And there's a story in there that like I remember we were doing like the first set of interviews, and he like during the interview process, I remember like getting this like, I think the universe speaks to us towards intuition, right? So I remember like getting this sense that there's a story about my past that I should share. And then I was like arguing back with it. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to like go into all that. And then like,
I mean, we were pretty much done with the interview,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I said if there's, did I miss anything? Is there anything else you want to share? And there was kind of a long pause. Like you just sort of like, I could tell you were thinking about something. And that's when you ended up sort of sharing some more that, just was not on my radar at all about like, some of your past experiences.
Yeah. And I think, I just got the sense that like, like the universe is like, oh, it could help someone. It's like, all right, I'll share it. And then, like I had a sense that Jamie, like initially was just like, he was really just doing like a ski film. And I remember like one morning, like I was like meditating and I was like, oh man, I kind of hope that he leaves like some of my stories in. I just get a sense that like some of these stories can help someone. And, I remember I texted him that morning and he was like, oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing that, your stories, I was like, oh, good. And then when I saw the final version, that story that I was hesitant to share was one of the stories that he kept in. So I was like, I mean, like I kind of like believe that I'm kind of just like taking orders from the universe through my intuition, and I feel like, that's what happened with the film, that without us really communicating about it, we ended up being on the same page somehow, and both of us are happy with it. So
it's good teamwork.
Yeah. So Julie was happy or more than happy with the finished product. Jamie was happy or more than happy with the finished project. It's been played for others. Mm-hmm. And what has been the feedback that you've received? I mean, we'll start off with Julie. What is like the most interesting or surprising reaction that you've received from somebody who's watched the film?
I have some friends that are out west that were telling me how well received it was. And then my friend Valerie said, she's like, you have a bunch of fangirls out here in Colorado. And I thought that was funny.
Nice.
Are you coming out with are you coming out with a line of ski apparel?
I wish. But just the fact that it was so well received and that it's resonating with people, that I was surprised with, because I mean, when you like, we're part of the Girl Winter Film Tour, mm-hmm. and when you like these other like women in these ski films are like, one's a 3-time Olympian. These people are like crazy good, and then here I am, like not near this elite level that they are at, and somehow my film is like still resonating with people, and they're not like, oh, what's this chick doing here in a ski film? So that was a surprise.
So, but don't discount the fact that while somebody might have won multiple medals in different Olympic events, whether skiing down racing gates or a mogul run or something like that, few of them, if any, could like snake their skis to a balsam fir grove coming down lone or rocky, because mm-hmm. those gates are made to move when you hit them. Okay. But I've never seen a tree that moves and gets out of your way. Okay. And just for retrospect, Sonny Bono, you guys remember who?
I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sonny Bono died as a result of hitting a tree when skiing in Aspen Ski Resort. He was on a marked, super wide groomed trail and went off to the side, hit a tree. And that was the end of our friend Sonny Bono. So that's why I say this is a very dangerous thing. But how about you, Jamie? Did you go back to the meetup group, or are there any other comments from somebody who watched the film that resonate with you, that kind of make you feel that, yeah, this really hit the mark.
Yeah, well, I did go back to the meetup group. They wanted me to show the updated version, and the reaction was super positive. So I knew that I was on the right track with the updated edit. And yeah, it's yes, the feedback. I attended some of the early. Julie mentioned the film as part of the Girl Winter film tour. It's six sort of women-based ski films. It's touring around the country. It's going to 33 cities in North America.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I attended the first couple tour stops out west, and yeah, the reaction's been super positive, just from even the Q&A, just the amount of questions that I, as a filmmaker, Julie wasn't there, but just the questions that I was fielding from people in the audience, either during the Q&A or coming up to me afterwards. And I know, Julie mentioned she's been getting text messages from folks out west giving her, their reports when they attend different screenings out there. So yeah, the feedback's been really great so far.
So while we're talking about feedback in this Winter Girl Tour, why don't you just talk that up a little bit more? I have the impression that just not any film about skiing gets to be part of the Winter Girls.
The Girl Winter, yeah.
Yeah, Girl Winter. So tell us about that, and how flattering or what an honor it is to get this film to be part of that. And I also see that there's been a number of magazines that have written, just really astounding and flattering reviews about the film. So talk it up, Jamie, if you will, how this project has been received in the community.
Yeah, it's been great. Over the summer, as soon as I finished up that last edit, you start submitting the process if you're trying to get into film festivals and film tours, especially ones that are sort of winter based or around skiing or the outdoors. You kind of have to have your film ready by the middle of the summer, and you start submitting it to all these film festivals and tours. And with the Girl Winter Film Tour, with any of these film festivals, they always have this sort of notification date. And usually my experience has been, if you hear back from them a week or two or three before that notification date, it's usually to say that they want your film. And if you hear back from them like on that notification date, it's that you're getting like a polite rejection. And so for the Girl Winter, I didn't actually hear back until that notification date, and I go to click the email, and I think it's just going to be a polite, no, sorry, we're not going to include your film. And it was quite the opposite. And they had 20 or 25 film submissions. They were only accepting 6 films, and Queen of the Catskills is one of those films. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And just to be, I grew up watching ski movies, Warren Miller, Greg Stump movies, and I can maybe think back to seeing like 1 or 2 women represented in a movie, and usually they have their little like 3-minute sort of sub spot in the movie. And it is really great to see like women represented and being sort of pushed up to the forefront, whether it's ski racing or high alpine mountain guides, ski touring guides, or backcountry skiers, and just the amount of young girls and women that are coming out to these films and getting to meet either the athletes that are in the films or the people that are making the films. It's pretty awesome. It's you also sort of realize that doing something like this, you're also sort of doing it for the next generation that's coming up and that wants to be outside and doing things, in the winter and in snow sports. So it was really special to be out there and just to sort of see it firsthand. And Julie and I are both going to be attending some of the East Coast shows that are happening coming up over the next week. So we'll be traveling around to some more dates around the East Coast. So Girl Winter Film Tour has been awesome, totally amazing. And then outside of that, the film at this point has been accepted or selected by, I think, 11 film festivals.
Wow.
Nice.
Including one over in France in a few weeks called Women in the Mountains, which is a 4-day uh, women's-based outdoor film festival that's really heavy on skiing, ski mountaineering, alpinism. So yeah, the response has been super amazing, and yeah, I can't even keep. I mean, Julie doesn't even
Oh,
know
yeah.
we were accepted to 2 more film festivals this week, and I didn't even
Oh,
I
wait,
haven't had a
Nice.
chance to
Jeez.
tell her. They just keep coming in, and so yeah, I feel like we're just kind of getting the ball rolling, and yeah, it's been really wonderful.
Oh, what are these film fests?
There you go.
Check the website.
Yeah.
All
Check the
right.
website. It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. And then I guess just to bring it back to local screenings, because we haven't actually screened it here yet in the Catskills or the Hudson Valley. But Julie and I are hard at work. We have a date for the Catskills screening, which is Saturday, December 13th. It's going to be at Woodstock in the Tinker Street Theater from 4 to 5. And so we have a lot of cool stuff planned. We're sort of starting to involve lots of brands that are going to be supporting that. We are going to announce tickets November 18th. We're partnering with Catskill Crew newsletter, which is a really amazing newsletter, just keeping people abreast on things that are happening in the Catskills. So if you go to catskillcrew.com and sign up, we're going to send out ticket links through that on the 18th, and then the following day we'll sort of share it to the world. But yeah, it's going to screen there the 13th December in Woodstock, and then we are going to be over in Hunter. You're going to be a Hunter on January 15th, and that's part of the Catskill Mountain Foundation. So we'll be at the theater there in town on the 15th. And yeah, lots of other things. We'll be in Boston and Lake Placid and Burlington, and yeah, a few other spots around the East Coast in the next few months.
Are you supposed to be in Woodstock, right?
We're going to be in Woodstock December 13th.
13th, that's
Saturday,
right.
December 13th. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
yeah, and
awesome.
everything that we're doing is listed on queenofthecatskillsmovie.com. So all the trailer, all of the dates that we're adding, we keep updated as soon as things come in. So you can always get the latest there.
So those of you who listened to our Halloween episode a couple of weeks ago, Queen of the Catskills is more popular than the Catskill Crone that we covered. But in all candor, Jamie sent me the link to watch the 14.59 second film earlier this week, and I got it in the middle of my workday. And I have to say, I was so overwhelmed by it. It was the production quality was top shelf. Julie's narrations were so genuine and heartfelt and insightful that it was really moving, so moving. I had to watch it a second time,
True.
back to back.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
yeah, very well done. I highly recommend it to anyone to go out, see it in person. I'm going to try to get to Woodstock on the 13th and, watch it in person and see some people's reactions to it. So thanks for sharing it all with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I have to say that, I love seeing this. So you talk about, once again, girl power, the women coming out about this. We had Kim Levinsky set the fastest known time for the women's on the long path. And now we see Julie coming out with this awesome story of the skiing, the Catskill 3500. And to be honest, doing hikes in the Catskills in the winter, I couldn't even imagine of skiing this. I'm sorry to say, and this is the balls you have to do that is just like unbelievable. I cannot. I'm just like when I was going up and down some of these ledges, I'm just like, who would want to try to ski this shit? Julie and Jamie, and that's it. So I watched the video, I watched the movie. It was phenomenal. I can't wait to see it in person on the screen, and I will try to get to Hunter and Woodstock to that as well. And but the big rumor is, I don't know if this is true. Are you guys working on another project? Because we didn't talk about these rumors when we were both together in our previous episodes. Those were secret for some reason. So is there another project going on?
No, not really. I mean, she's got her project, which she can clarify, and maybe I'll dip in and document some of it, but there's nothing formal. I mean, I'll just say it. She's working on being the first person to ski the 100 highest here in the Catskills. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
I have a couple other like things that are like Sufferfest for the
Mm-hmm.
Catskills that I'm planning on doing. I don't
Some
know if I
other
can do
top
it. We'll see
secret
how far
things,
I can
yeah.
get, right? But
Yeah.
that's one of the projects that I'm long-term working on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
So who knows? Maybe I'll dip back in and film some of that. But yeah, nothing formal right now. Yeah.
Well, good.
Awesome.
Amazing. So once again, thank you guys for being here on the show tonight. Really enjoyed it. Really love hearing the journey. Julie, congratulations on the 3,500 skiing and the movie. That was phenomenal. Jamie did a great job of catching all of that and the message and stuff. And to be honest, I'd like to say that you're not going to hear about the message on here. You got to watch it. So go to one of these screenings live in person. It is so much better than watching it on a screen and TV. In person gives you that feel and stuff like that. And plus, Jamie and Julie will most likely be there, so you can ask these awkward questions and put them in that awkward space.
Yeah, come out to Woodstock. Julie and I will both be there for the big premiere.
Oh, sweet. So there you go. So I will try to make it again. And thank you guys for joining the show. Once again, your accomplishments we're very grateful to have you guys here in the Catskills and to represent the Catskills, because I just, my heart gets filled with stuff like this. I just love it. It's so great. So last question. Oh my God. Post-hike brews and bites. After Lone and Rocky, did you guys just go home and freaking go to sleep and pass out? Or did you go somewhere and just have some, oh yeah, Julie's shaking her head. She's like, oh yeah.
We went, I mean, it was like past 8 p.m., I think. Like,
nothing was open.
Yeah, and also we're just like, I was actually like starting to fall asleep like on the drive back.
Wow.
So no way I was going.
It's where the heavy metal music comes into play.
I need something. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, but my recollection is it's the proper question, Stosh, is not post-hike brews and bites.
On the hike.
No, I think it's more like going to a football game. There's the tailgating pre-skin and ski refreshments are taken, and we won't ask anyone to answer those questions. But if you want to know about that, you got to listen to the earlier podcast that Julie was on. So
yeah, any places that you guys can like just really quickly say that you love to go to in the Catskills that you want to suggest?
I'm going to shout out my favorite breakfast sandwich spot, which is Mara's on the Go on Route 28, kind of right near Onteora Lake. They open at 6 a.m. You can call ahead or just it's drive-through. Super awesome breakfast sandwich. So that's my secret go-to spot that I just love.
Nice.
I'll shout out Last Chance Cafe in Tannersville and Chappie's in Roxbury.
Got it. All right. Got it down. So once again, thank you for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate you having the time to come out and join us on the show. Can't wait to watch it in person. It's going to be phenomenal. And I encourage everybody to join us at this place. Let's fill this freaking place up. All right. All right. Have a good night, guys. We'll hope to see you in the future in Woodstock.
All right. Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this. You gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.